It's a statistical fact that for the past 2+ years, every time we mention the name Jameis Winston on the podcast, the audience drops by a quarter or even half. So who knows if we'll even have anyone watching or listening at all today, because there's just no way to avoid talking about him. Or the phrase, eat the dub. I mean, we have to say all that on Friday's show, right? Even though we're certain many of you are wishing Jameis eats other things than a dub. The good news is Gabe and Larry are here, as we'll also be talking about the Saints, resurgence, Darren Rizzi, Alvin Kamara, and Derek Carr. Oh, wait a minute. Who put Derek Carr in the script? Now we're going to lose even more people. There they go again, leaving in droves. Let's start the show before we piss anyone else off.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, New Orleans? And hello to my friends elsewhere, everywhere, out there. We're leaving for the Dub store as soon as we end this show. Man, gotta eat. Man, also gotta watch Dattitude, episode number 311, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, November the 15th, 2024. Just putting Jameis Winston as the cover of this show. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not joking. I mean this sincerely. The numbers to start this show of people watching this, Gabe can attest to this, are at least half, maybe less than half of what we would normally. If you just put a picture of Jameis Winston anywhere, you're doomed. No one. There go the numbers again. I mentioned it. Going down. Can't stay. I'll come back and check in later. See if he's talking about something else. What is wrong with you people? You hate the dude that much you can't even listen to the show? What is wrong with you people? Let's see what happens when I mention this name. I'm your host, Jim Derry. Went down. 34 years with the New Orleans sports media scene, 11 years broadcasting. Whether it's like this as a show host or yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening doing play-by-play, 3 prep basketball jamborees. I will say this. If you got to do 3 prep basketball, I had no voice last night. I was worried about today. I got to be honest. Should have drank tea when I got home. I also did Final Bet last night at Fox 8. It was a busy, busy day. So I am kind of surprised of a voice. But if you got to do prep basketball jamborees, at least have games like we had yesterday. We had some really good ones. All 3 were super tight. Not that anyone, I mean, look, even other than the players on the field, the parents probably didn't even care. I mean, they don't count. But it was fun. It was fun to call basketball again. It's always weird when you go back to a new sport. So you do football, you do play-by-play for football, and then you do play-by-play for basketball, and then you do play-by-play for baseball. It's always interesting to see that first game back to whatever sport it is, how quick it comes back. And every year that I do this, it comes back a little bit quicker. Man, it was like riding a bike yesterday with basketball. I had to do the first game by myself, like nothing. It helps that it was a 1-point game, but still a lot of fun. I told you I should have drank some tea last night. I'm going to blame Gabe. I should have told Gabe I told him I wanted to hold the show to an hour yesterday, but he kept rambling on and rambling on and rambling on. Dude just doesn't shut up. He just babbles on. We'll see what we can do today. He is going to be on the show today, whether you're watching on one of our NOLA.com social media channels or listening on demand to the podcast. I mean, we're going to see who the true members of the Dattitude family are today. Because, again, you mentioned that word that was on our cover. Let's see what happens if you show it. If you show the picture, are they going to they're going to quit watching too? For those of you listening to the podcast after the fact, I'll put the cover back on. Jameis Winston's on the cover. Yep, there they go. Numbers going down. Just wanted to do an experiment. Let's see what we got here this morning. Good morning, Brian Pearson. What will it take for the New Orleans Saints to be a Super Bowl champ? Oh, come on, man. Brian, you're just trying to make up questions. I appreciate questions. You can ask anything you want. But what's it going to take for them to be Super Bowl champions? A whole lot of stuff they ain't doing right now. How about that? Let's just start with that. Randall, good morning. Guess who's back? Back again. UBN. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Kyle Sherman, good morning. That's Kelly. Who dat? Kyle Sherman also eating them dubs, baby. Eat them. Crab legs coming back to town. Krabby Crab. So now you think, Darrell, you think I'm joking. I'm not joking, dude. You just mentioned, watch this. I mean, y'all can't see the numbers, so you don't know. But you just mentioned the name Jameis Winston. Boom. It's like magic. Boom. Oh, that went up that time. I don't know what's going on. Weird. Winston just plays for the name on the helmet, Jim. There is no name on the helmet. It's just a color. It's brown. It's really orange. So he plays for the Oranges. Darrell just came because of the Winston name. Well, there you go. Randall, what do you know? Randall's a Winston fan. That's how much he hates Derek Carr. He's a Winston fan. Hakeem, Batiste, who dat from enemy territory? Mableton, Georgia. By the way, the third ward, baby. Welcome, Hakeem. We know you're part of the Dattitude family. Hakeem says he likes Jameis, but he gives us 2 footballs to catch on Sunday afternoon. He is probably good for at least 1 complete pass to the Saints, maybe 2. We talked about this on Final Bet. What do you think the over-under on interceptions is total Sunday? I'm not saying what do the books at. Not what Gabe says 2. I'm saying I said last night on Final Bet, I put it at 2.5, and I would take the over. I would take the over between Jameis and Derek Carr. Not that Derek Carr, he doesn't throw a ton of interceptions, but I think he's going to throw one on Sunday. I think that he's going to be pressured. Again, we'll get into it. Larry Holder coming on the show in a little bit. Gabe coming on. We're going to talk about Saints line did not change. It's basically pick 'em. Randy Cajun's here. Hey, y'all. What's going on? As Kelly says, I don't care. He doesn't care if you say Jameis Winston. He's still here. Good for you. Emily Varner. Good morning. Emily. Is that Adam using your wife's account, or is wifey watching? I hope so. Welcome. Tyrone Doyle. What's good? Who dat? Tyrone says 2. He's got 2 picks. Just Jameis throwing 2 picks, or you got 1 of each? What you got? PBM says that is the base of the Carr haters. Winston lovers. I don't know, man. Some people hate both. I'm telling you. Some people just hate it both. All right. If you're new to the show and you haven't figured it out already, you can be part of the show. That's what the show's mostly about, involving you, the family. All you got to do is type your comment in, whether you watch it on YouTube or X. Not X. You can't watch it on X. Not yet, anyway. We got to figure out how to make that happen again. YouTube or Facebook. If you have not already subscribed to the Dattitude YouTube page, please take a second to do that. I know a lot of you have. That's where the Dattitude family lives. That's where you always can find out when we're going on the air live, which is normally every weekday except Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Now, we got a weird schedule the next 2 weeks because of A, Saints on a bye week, and B, because of Thanksgiving. We'll tell you what the week is going to be like. I know next week for sure, Monday and Thursday will be our shows next week. You get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. I haven't been getting as many emails lately, maybe because I haven't been saying my email address. I noticed that I just kind of forgot. I haven't done it on purpose. I just have. So it's jderry@theadvocate.com if you want to get with me. Dattitude podcast presented by Evangeline Securities on this Friday morning, and NOLA.com. 34 years. All 34 of those years, I have worked for the Times-Picayune in some form or fashion, except for the times here and there when I was laid off and then they brought me back later because either they missed me or whatever. Maybe there were other reasons. Who knows? Maybe they were so desperate for whatever that was when they brought me back. They're like, oh God, I guess we got to call Derry. Nobody else wants this job. Call Derry. He'll take it. And I did. Again, Saints line didn't move. LSU and Tulane ever so slightly. The Tulane line has moved. The over-under went down to 51.5. The line stayed at 7. The money lines ever so slightly towards Tulane. Brian Pearson wants to know, am I cooking Thanksgiving dinner? That is Mrs. Derry, buddy. You don't want me cooking. Although I might cook the turkey. The way we've been doing the turkey lately is, I don't know, does anybody know what a sous vide is? I didn't know what it was till about 2 years ago. It's basically this tub of water, and you put this thing in there, and it heats it to a certain exact temperature. And then you put the turkey in there, or whatever meat. It cooks any meat. I mean, you cook literally any meat in there, and you have to leave it in there a certain amount of time. But I'm telling you, it is by far the best way to, not that this is a cooking show, but it by far is the best way to cook meat. 100%. Look it up. Google it. SOUSFI, not F. SOUS, 2 words, VIDE. Look it up. If you do any cooking and you don't know what that is, look it up. I'm telling you. PJ, are you new to the family? We appreciate you being here. What's up? John Pace is here. Who dat, baby? Says hello to Gabe and I. You headed to New Orleans. Welcome. Welcome in. You can come check me out after the game. John, if you're around after the game and you get a chance, you can go down to the bottom into the plaza. I don't know exactly what you'll be able to find us. Zach and I will be doing the Saints Insider Show after the game is over. Ovide, welcome back. O-line would be better with McCoy at center. No question about it. We're going to definitely talk about that with Larry in a little bit. No question about it. Kyle Sherman, I thank you. Local news outlets are suffering. All news outlets are suffering. Need more content like mine, multiple formats. Scale up. We're trying to be different. Who do I have in the big fight tonight? Look, man, as much as I want to Mike Tyson to win, I did not say I was working last night. I didn't see the slap. Heard about it. Was it good, Gabe? Was the slap good? No. It was for entertainment purposes only, right? I mean, it wasn't real. Yeah. I think Mike Tyson's going to get his ass kicked. He's my age. I love me some Mike Tyson, man, but look, I know I joke about the being the get off my lawn dude. JJ says he's going to beat the fight. Wow. Congratulations. I'm just saying, man, I can't be. Jake Paul's going to kick his ass. I mean, if it's for real. Now, if it's like wrestling and they're faking and they're just kind of like, doing this and that, and they scripted it, then anything can happen. But I don't think it's going to be scripted. I think it's going to be real when they get in there, and I just think Jake Paul's going to kick his ass. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I'm for the old dude. I love me some Mike. I've always loved Mike Tyson. He's fun. But I don't think that's going to happen. All right, before we get to Gabe and Larry, whether you've been with us for a while, whether this is show number 1 or show number 311 or somewhere in between, you need to hear about our friends at Evangeline Securities. If you have been thinking about selling your family-run or privately held business, then give me a minute to tell you how you can get started and who can help you. Yesterday, we were talking about Tahiti and drinks with umbrellas in there, and maybe that's not your thing. Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt at Evangeline, they don't judge whether it's umbrellas, straws, or jalapenos, whatever floats your boat. They can help you get to that place where you can put anything in your drink that you want to put in there. They will help you answer the most important question first before you can get to your final destination. And that is, of course, how much is my company worth? They will answer that question by first scheduling a complimentary valuation. Then they'll go step by step with you if the decision is to proceed. More on this later in the show, but in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, Larry Holder coming up. But before we get to Larry, I want to get to Gabe. And I have no idea what Gabe is going to present to me. this morning, but I know you agree with me. Jake Paul going to kick his ass, right?
Do we not remember what Mike Tyson looked like the last time he stepped in a ring competitively?
Actually, I don't.
That was 20 years ago, and he was getting his ass kicked. So, I mean, what do we think is going to... I know Jake Paul's not a real fighter, but what do we think is going to happen?
Here's the reason why I give him a chance, okay? I don't... Look, it wouldn't shock me if Mike Tyson won, but the reason why I give him a chance is, even though he's an old dude, if you motivate somebody enough, and he knows that if he wins this fight some kind of way, that he's going to get a chance to fight again and make more and more money. And the dude, nobody has blown them money except for maybe... MC Hammer. Nobody has blown them money like Mike Tyson.
Okay? 50 Cent did a pretty good job.
50 Cent did do a pretty good job. So if Mike knows that if he can win tonight, then somebody's going to give him another chance. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he's Mike Tyson. The name carries weight, and he would be able to sell tickets anyway. So,
I will say this. Here, this is the greatest quote, like seriously, the greatest quote of all time is from Mike Tyson. It is this: everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. And you and I, in life, that's just a metaphor for life. And it is true. You don't have to literally get punched in the face. You could have something happen to you. It's like getting punched in the face. So, I mean, I've always... Tyson's going to bite his ear off. OVD.
He's not. Jake Paul's got that diamond ear cuff.
No, he just wants to eat the dub. He doesn't want to eat ears. Come on, man.
He gets paid either way. Someone in the comments said it.
Brian wants to know how I met both of these guys that are on my show, if I don't mind. Sure. Well, I mean, we have all kinds of interesting questions on the show. Gabe and I met when he was hired at bet.nola.com, 2 years ago?
Yeah, October 2022.
And I think we can say this. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. Today is Gabe's last day at bet.nola.com and working for this company. But he loves us so much that he said if it was okay with me, and I'm like, okay with me, of course. It's beyond okay. But he's going to stay on and help us here at the Dattitude podcast as he's been doing, and will still make his appearances. So I want everybody in the chat to give a thumbs up to Gabe Henderson. We appreciate what you've done for us at bet.nola.com. You have been a godsend. You've become a friend, not just this program, not just working. We chat all the time outside of work, texting wise, because of, just the things that, I think even though we have this massive age difference, I think we both kind of like the same kind of things. And, yeah, so I mean that's where it is, and Hakeem gives you the thumbs up. Even
though I apparently yapped too much.
Yeah, right.
Which I went and looked at the timestamps yesterday. I know. I went and looked at the timestamps yesterday. Let's remember you talked for 34 minutes by yourself.
No way! Did I really?
I can't believe it.
Rainy Cage and saying Rocky, UBN's giving you. I mean, I guess. That's typical UBN giving the Poussin there. That's his Poussin. I'm not liking it. But look, seriously, I know I won't miss you because you'll still be a part of all this. So we're still going to talk.
Yep.
We'll still be friends. Who knows? We never know what's going to happen in life. We've both been through, obviously I'm older, so I've been through a lot more of this kind of crap than you have. But we know you'll still be here. But I think it's a shame, and I'm sorry that it's happening to you this way. But we're going to go on, and you'll still be here, and we'll still do it.
We are. No, I appreciate that.
Terrence, by the way, says he's too busy working. He needs more Dattitude in his life.
Gotta adjust my chair. Hold on. I need a new desk chair.
Well, there you go. In your future endeavors, the next thing you do, I think, is buy a desk chair. What you got for me this morning that does not have anything related to?
Well, I thought it was weird. So when I was looking up, you mentioned the Jameis Winston interception prop earlier and what the line would be set at. So I was going to look, and I was searching for different sports books to see if they had it. I can't seem to find it in any of the major players. But the one thing that I did find interesting is DraftKings is the only book where the Browns are favored in this game.
Oh, okay.
The Saints are 1-2, and there's one book. You can get the Saints at -1.5 at FanDuel. But every other book has Saints -1, which once you start getting into -1, it's kind of a pick 'em.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But-
the money line is even, so there's no reason. There's literally no reason to bet the -1. You would just bet the money line.
Exactly.
So I'm just showing you what the lines are. I mean, there are a lot of fools
unless you get slightly better odds on the -1.
No, and if you want to bet on the Saints,
won't.
you would just take the +1. Although it's plus 118. I'm not
exactly.
-118. I'm not going to get into all
just
that.
Take the -1. Yeah, take the -110.
Other games real quick. LSU. Let's make it. You can make your final pick here. LSU, Florida. I know you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but you like Tigers? Yeah.
I like LSU. We talked about it earlier in the week. I think this line should be closer to 7. DJ Lagway's going to play for Florida. Billy Napier announced on his radio show yesterday. I just don't think he's going to be 100% mobile. He was dealing with a hamstring injury that they initially thought was going to keep him out for the year. He's back in 2 weeks. I don't think he's going to be as mobile as the guys that LSU's seen. I like LSU to cover the 4. I'm not super confident about it, so if I was playing this game, I'd play the over.
And then Tulane Navy, I think Tulane's going to win. 7's a lot of points. I wouldn't play that one way or the other. But I think it's a lower scoring game, which would probably, if I was forced to bet, I'd probably take Navy +7, but I don't love it because Tulane has been playing very well lately and Navy actually has not. So it's just a stay away game, but it's a big time litmus test for the Green Wave.
I would take Tulane in this game comfortably. I believe, I could be wrong. I haven't looked up the scenarios, but I was looking at the standings yesterday. If they win this game, they have a 2-game cushion over everyone below them in the American Athletic.
In the AAC.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think they'll clinch a date with Army.
Okay.
With a win. So I think they covered the 7 points.
And they still have Memphis next week. So I mean that's well, actually it's not next week. It's on Thanksgiving. They play Memphis on Thanksgiving. So this is our last regular season Saturday game, which is weird enough as it is. But all right, well, we will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Gabe Henderson. And that Tulane Navy game, it's weird. It's something weird about that game. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I don't know if it's like. Oh, we never even talked to, and I'm going to briefly mention this because Larry's in the green room, but Pels and Nuggets. That is you want to talk about strange lines. It's a perfect example of why sometimes we just put numbers on here just to show you what they are for entertainment purposes. There's no way I would ever advocate to anyone. I mean, you'd have to be kind of like falling off of a rock to want to bet the Nuggets Pelicans game tonight. I mean, that line is so strange. They were 14.5-point dogs at Oklahoma City and failed to cover, but they come back home. They play the Nuggets. That's got to mean to me that Jokic isn't playing. We looked it up. Gabe and I couldn't find anything really that suggests whether or not is or isn't playing. It could be just a day off, and they know that he's going to have a day off. And I don't know how the media would get wind of it, but the books know, because there's no way that line would be that low. I mean, if Jokic is playing, that line should be more like 9 or 10, even in New Orleans with all the injuries they faced and everything else. So just weird. Dylan is late, but he's here. Stop hating on Jameis, he says. Grow up, haters. We're going to test out the theory of talking about Jameis. Good morning, Adam. Welcome. We're going to test out that theory because, I mean, Larry and I, we keep it real. And, I mean, Jameis Winston is returning to the Dome. What else are we going to talk about this morning?
You could talk about Nick Chubb being like the least productive running back since he's come back from injury. And I don't know if it's injury related or not, but then you have that. But then the Saints can't stop anybody if they actually take a carry. Doesn't matter who it is. They can't stop anyone. So
this could be the Nick Chubb get well game.
But yeah, Jameis might be a bit of a topic, maybe.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it, Larry, because I think, and we're going to talk about later on, we'll wrap up this segment with our Saints Browns pick. We'll each make a pick. We've been pretty good lately. I mean, we've been not exact, but we've been close. And then the NFL best of week 11. I picked the games I think are the 3 best games of the weekend. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. Although I thought last night was going to be a good game, and it really kind of stunk. I'm glad I didn't see the whole thing. It was kind of nothing until the end, and then Philadelphia took charge and ended up doing kind of what Gabe and I said and we think Washington's going to start going in the opposite direction. But anyway, Cleveland and the Saints, it's an interesting matchup. And if you can see the numbers on the screen, if you can't, we'll tell them to you. Basically, Browns ranked 16th in defense, Saints ranked 16th in offense. So that should be even, okay? Then on the defensive side, the Saints defense against the Browns and Jameis, the Saints are 28th on defense, which is a lot better than where they were a few weeks ago, against the 31st ranked offense. In the grand scheme of things, Larry, you can see why this is basically a pick'em game.
Right. The numbers on the screen basically tell you the story. And it's odd to me because if you were going to pick one unit of the four, Saints offense, defense, Browns offense, defense, where you think, man, one team should have a major edge over the other, you would think it would be the Browns defense having a major edge over the Saints offense. And the Browns defense has not played up to potential throughout the year. Now, are they one of the best pass rush pressure teams in the league still? Yes. So that to me presents an obvious problem along whichever edge you're going to have Myles Garrett line up on. Now, They don't have Zadarius Smith anymore. He was traded to the Lions. That will boost the Lions in a spot. Obviously, we know they have an issue with no Aiden Hutchinson for the rest of the year. But still, Myles Garrett is still Myles Garrett. And so you're wondering how the Saints can counteract that. But still, offensively, look, the Saints, maybe they've got enough to kind of overcome that side of the ball. And then you look at the other side, and you think, man, the Browns offense is just so terrible. And the Saints defense actually showed some life last week. And so can they play a little bit bigger than what they have been doing? So yeah, it's definitely, there's a reason why you look at all the lines and it's a pick'em game.
Here's a question for you. Who has worse receivers right now, like currently, the Browns or the Saints?
Oh boy. I mean, who's
it's pretty bad,
Browns
isn't it?
Receiver? Cedric Tillman. Is that what we're going with?
We spent the whole show yesterday talking about the current Saints receivers, and you actually have Dante Pettis on the field. You got all kinds of dudes catching. There have been 15 different receivers. 15 different Saints have caught a pass so far this season, which is it's kind of insane to me.
What do you think about Jerry Jeudy?
Jerry Jeudy. Remember Jerry Jeudy was supposed to be. I mean, first of all, Deshaun Watson was just so bad. You want to talk? Just think if the Saints. Look, things have gone wrong for the Saints, but the Saints could have. I mean, you can hate Derek Carr all you want, and look, I know how you feel about Derek Carr, whatever. But you have to admit, even you will have. Okay, don't think he's a great player. Okay, I'll put it that way. Of course, you don't have anything against him personally, but the situation that the Saints are in with Derek Carr is way better than the situation the Browns are in with Deshaun Watson.
Imagine if the Saints had Watson right now,
and they wanted him so bad, they were trying.
They had him, he was theirs until the Browns really went all in and guaranteed everything. Otherwise, he would be a New Orleans Saint, and that would have been horrible. Because he would have been just as bad because and the Browns at that point, look, they had and probably still have when they're fully healthy, a good offensive line. But, even when they had them, they actually had a viable running game, and then the pieces fall apart. But obviously Deshaun Watson's off the field issues and then on the field injuries, and you add it all up, and that would have been a real, you think where people are screaming now, my gosh.
Right.
You imagine blame Dennis Allen for Deshaun Watson being terrible. You couldn't have blamed him. But it's just, boy, it could have been a lot worse. And
it could have been way worse.
Yeah, the Browns, they patched it together last year and somehow made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. And that was just an anomaly.
UBN brings up a good point, and Njoku is a phenomenal pass catcher. There's no doubt about it, but there's not enough really good pass catchers in this game, period, to even get fired up about it. By the way, going back to what we're talking about in the Nuggets and the Pelicans real quick, Barry says WWL just announced that Jokic is out due to personal reasons. Well, right, and we were talking about that. I think personal reasons means it's a day of rest. That's my guess on what that means. Adam Varner says He doesn't think and I don't know what it. I never understood, and this kind of leads me into what I want to talk about with Jameis real quick. And I realize that people will leave the show and they'll come back in 10 minutes to see if we're still talking about Jameis. Adam Varner says, I don't think Jameis is good. He's a good person, but a very inconsistent player. I don't think Jameis is great. I mean, I definitely think Derek Carr is better than Jameis Winston. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think Jameis Winston's kind of gotten a bum rap throughout his entire career. The dude threw for 5,000 yards one year. I get that he threw for 30-plus touchdowns and 30-plus interceptions in the same season. But I just never understood the complete and utter disdain for Jameis Winston.
Well, he doesn't win, so that's one.
Well, I mean,
that's one.
When's the last good team he's been on?
That's actually number one. He doesn't win. Doesn't win. So there you go.
I mean, that's a fair point. I'm not.
That's all you need. That's
the number 1 point. But he did win when he was the Saints starting quarterback. Until he got hurt, he was winning.
That is a less than a half of a season, and then he didn't. So there's that. Like, it's just here's the thing. Like, Jameis Winston was the number 1 pick in the draft,
right?
And with that comes extreme expectations. And
agreed.
When you don't produce, there it is. Like it sets a franchise back for years. Like, it took Tampa to basically run into Tom Brady to get back to where they were a contender, because they weren't even a contender with Jameis. And
I'm just saying, I know he threw 30 interceptions. Everybody wants to point that out. That's great. But he still is one of only 13 players in NFL history to ever throw for not even 13 players. It's only been done 13 times. It's not 13 players. It's less than 10, because Drew Brees did it, 4 or 5 times. He's one of 13 instances of a player throwing for 5,000 yards in one season. And UBN says, you know how hard it is to throw 30 interceptions in a season? You know how hard it is to throw for 5,000 yards in a season?
And 30-plus touchdowns. Like, that's
exactly.
That's obviously, yeah, but it just shows you the ultimate risk reward with him. It is risk reward. And that's what he has been and what he'll always be. And, he's playing because Deshaun Watson is hurt. I mean, maybe they would have benched Watson by now, but I can't see it just because they'd have so much money tied into him. But still, like, the whole thing with Jameis Winston, and I know people in this town see him as sort of cult hero-ish in the same ilk as Teddy Bridgewater. And yet, look, Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, it goes back to your winning. Exactly. It goes back to your winning.
5-0, but you also didn't have to lean on him to be as your full-time starter. Like,
correct.
The Saints,
you knew Drew Brees was coming back.
We don't know how that story would have ended if he stays healthy and they go
and stays in New Orleans
and plays an entire season under Sean Payton. Like, we don't know how that goes. And so that's where we are. You live in the unknown with that. And so I get that there's a draw with people in New Orleans. I get it. But also, the history shows you that doesn't last. Just like history shows you that, oh my gosh, Joe Flacco got the Browns to the playoffs last year, and then he plays this year and looks like a dumpster fire again, and you have to go back to Anthony Richardson when you're the Colts. So none of these guys at this point in their careers are starters, and that's why they are where they are.
We have a couple other comments in the queue that I'm going to show when we get to that topic, especially Terrence. You know what I'm talking about. So we'll get to you in a minute. But, Darrell points out, win under Peyton, lose under Allen. I don't know what it was about. Dennis Allen obviously had some kind of beef with Jameis Winston. We saw last year, and you and I talked about it multiple times last year, where Derek Carr clearly shouldn't have played multiple games last year. But Dennis Allen, I don't know if he was worried about a quarterback controversy. I don't think that was it, or whether he just couldn't stand Jameis Winston that much that he refused to put him in. And then Winston gave him a big middle finger at the end of the season and said, I'm leaving anyway. I'm going to do what I want. And I don't usually like revolts against a coach, but I actually thought that one was pretty good. But I don't know. What was it, do you think, that he and Dennis Allen just didn't see eye to eye?
And look, I'm not in the locker room like I used to be.
No, we're just speculating.
I just don't think he trusted him.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Could be.
And then he brought his quarterback in. And so he's got to ride with him And that's that. Like, you ride with your guy. Jameis was.
But if he's hurt and he can't play, I mean, it didn't make any. He didn't waste any time going to. I mean, he kind of didn't have a choice, but sticking with Spencer Rattler for 3 games when that was obviously silly and wouldn't give Jake Haener a chance. I don't know. I just thought. I mean, I'm not going to get Dennis Allen's gone, so we don't have to harp on him anymore. I just thought that the way he's treated quarterbacks in general has been absolutely strange.
Well, that's what happens when you don't have a viable starting quarterback. And that's that. Like, that is it. This goes back every week. I circle back every Friday.
You're wrong about that. We can do this every Friday. You're just wrong.
We should look at the tape. Well, how about every Friday or Wednesday or Tuesday or whenever we've been doing the show?
You're just wrong about Derek Carr.
He is a middle of you get what you get. Like, he's never going to be.
He's around 10-ish. I mean, he's 7th this year in passer rating. I mean,
oh my gosh, 7th in passer rating.
Well, I mean, you want to pick out whatever stats you want that's going to benefit your. I mean, he throws a deep ball as good as anybody else in the freaking league.
What are the teams when he's under center win-loss? That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, what other team that he's played for has had I mean, he plays for the worst. And it's his own fault. I don't know why he wanted to come here. I got to be honest. I have no idea why he chose New Orleans, because New Orleans was basically a microcosm of what he was leaving. So why he chose New Orleans, I have no idea. They had no offensive line when he was coming here, and it's only gotten worse. So why he chose New Orleans, that's his own thing. But if he ever played,
they weren't ready, set, start situations readily available outside of, say,
I disagree. I think
the Saints and the Jets.
Exactly. He could have gone to the Jets, and he would have been much better off going to the Jets. And so would the Jets, for that matter. I think the Jets would have been much better off with Derek Carr than Aaron Rodgers.
I think that's actually true, which goes to show you where Aaron Rodgers probably is skill level-wise and how he conducts himself locker room-wise and basically sucks the life out. He sucked the life out of the Jets. Like, the Jets defense used to be great. Now they don't want to tackle anybody anymore. Same thing. Similarly, that we've seen in New Orleans, where they didn't want to tackle for weeks, and now all of a sudden, at least they're showing life. Like, they didn't exactly tackle Bijan Robinson a ton, but still, they at least showed some life and some guts and beat the Falcons. And so, like, I gotta, like, and I kind of alluded to that in the last few weeks when we said that, like, you could see them just human nature wise. All right, there's different leadership, there's a different energy. It gets you motivated to play a little harder. So that's what we've seen so far.
Here's a comment that I want to put out there because I think it's important to respond to. Douglas Thornton, who is a member of the Dattitude family, has been with us for a few months now. So I'm going by rating versus what his record shows. No, I'm using that number. I'm using that number, but I'm going by the eye test. I can tell you right now, and I'm dead serious when I say this, and I know Larry probably won't agree with me. I can tell you that I wouldn't be able to find 20. I can't find 10 quarterbacks that I would rather have than Derek Carr right now. There aren't 10 quarterbacks.
You got to be kidding me.
There aren't 10 quarterbacks that I'd rather have.
You can't find 10.
Nope. Right now. I can tell you, I can't find 10. I mean, I could probably find 7, 8, maybe even 9, but I can't find 10. And so we could sit here and go through the debate. This is something for the offseason. I mean, if you want to, go through a list. Go ahead. Go ahead, and I'll go. I mean, whatever you want to do.
God. Jim, that's laughable. Come on. You can't find 10.
I can't find 10. I can't. Look, I get it. People hate Derek Carr.
I don't hate him. I don't.
I'm not talking about you, Larry, and I'm not talking about your personal feelings about whether you want to have a beer with the dude. Okay, I get that. I'm talking about the business hate. Okay, the football hate for Derek Carr. I've said it 1,000 times. And look, we're talking about quarterbacks that everybody hates.
Depends on what you're stipulating as.
There you go, Jerry. Wins are not a quarterback stat. They aren't. They aren't a quarterback. Just like Super Bowl wins don't make you the greatest player of all time. Just saying.
I didn't say they're a quarterback stat.
No, but I'm, go ahead.
But history shows when your quarterback is good, you win more games. Just saying. It's Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana. I mean, that just Peyton Manning. Like,
okay.
Maybe I'm onto something here.
Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. Okay, here's Gabe's list. And I'm going to, I'll just say, in case you listen to the pod, he's got Lamar, Burrow, Allen, Stroud, Mahomes, Herbert, Love, Goff, Hurts, Daniel, Stafford, Purdy, Murray. Okay, first off, Herbert is done.
I'd way rather have
absolutely
Justin Herbert
done.
over Derek Carr.
Herbert has done absolutely nothing. Jordan Love, the jury's still out on him. You know how I feel about Jared Goff. Hurts, what has Hurts done this year?
You know who could be an MVP candidate? Like legitimately,
not Hurts.
Saquon Barkley.
Oh, there's no doubt. Saquon Barkley is completely
saved that team. The defense has gotten better because guess what?
Barkley?
Hurts looked bad last night. He did not look good last night. And Washington's defense is a little better, but they're not great. But my goodness, Saquon Barkley, him and Derrick Henry, like you get all this hype for Lamar Jackson being the MVP, this, that, and the other. Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, to me, should easily be.
I completely agree.
In the MVP. Without them, their teams aren't as good.
They shouldn't be in the MVP race. Should be the MVP favorites. Could you imagine the Ravens right now without Derrick Henry? I mean, seriously, they'd be not very good. UBN and I, we don't always agree. We agree. Herbert has done nothing with a lot. That's when he had a lot of talent. He was doing nothing. I don't get the whole Herbert talk. Justin Herbert is done nothing. Nothing. 11 and 1 touchdown. Who cares?
They're winning because of defense and
J.K. Dobbins has been more important for that team.
And their run game hasn't been great. They're winning because all of a sudden their defense is now awesome. Like I don't know where it came from. And they basically have the same players, which is interesting.
All right,
we could go, dude. I could do this for 2 hours.
We'll do this more in the offseason. There are other questions that I want to ask you because I want to get into the offensive line part, and because part of this matchup, and what we do on Friday is we do talk about all kinds of different things. But when you're talking about the matchup of Browns versus Saints, to me, the most important matchup in this game, and you kind of alluded to it early on, was the Browns defensive line, which I think has just underperformed, right? I mean, there's no way this team is really, they were the best defense in the league last year, another 16th. Okay, I think they're better than 16th. They haven't played like it. Whether they'll shake out of it, who knows? They're pretty much done too, just like the Saints are. But I think the matchup to watch is the Browns defensive line against the Saints offensive line. Now, they played better than a lot of us expected, but I'm still not sold. That being said, Eric McCoy coming back is a big deal for the Saints. I'm going to be watching in the trenches for sure when the Saints have the football.
Well, Eric McCoy, absolutely. Like the Saints would have been, if he doesn't get hurt, you probably win a couple more games this year. I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, he's once you saw him go down, you knew that was going to be a major issue. And here are some of the things that Cleveland, even though they're the traditional stats that you have up there, they're middle of the pack. I mean, right now they are they're number one in pressure percentage on quarterbacks, 43.2%. So they could still do that. They're fifth in blitz percentage, 21.2%. So it's not like that they're just relying on their front four. They're getting a little bit more exotic than some teams show, but they're only ninth in sacks, 27%. So, 27 sacks total. So they haven't been as good as what we're used to seeing. And then, but when you see, like, the thing is, I feel like when your offense is so bad, at some point your defense takes a step back, and it's human nature. I think you saw it with the Saints. The offense got so bad that it carries over. And I think that's what you're seeing with Cleveland. And imagine if they had any kind of viable, say, quarterback play in the last several years, and they've had a good defense. I mean, that would be something that they would be a contender every year. And that's just not what they are right now. And then I always like to look at defensive points per game allowed, because it's a little bit different, because it doesn't include pick sixes and all this stuff. I mean, the Browns are 27th in the league in defensive points allowed, 25.5 points per game. So again, that's not a good number, but to me, I feel like it is more, they've gotten worse as the season has gone along, because they know they have like no hope offensively. And the Saints, the same thing happened with the Saints.
Yeah. UBN. He heard a guy say the Saints wouldn't win a game without Eric McCoy. I wonder who is that dude here? Are you here?
They won one.
No, they didn't.
They won last week.
Oh, that didn't count. Oh, you're right.
That doesn't count.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. I'm gonna give it to you. You're right. But still, they went 1-7 without him.
But you're not
how
wrong.
much does he mean? How much does he mean, Larry? How much does he mean, Larry?
Look, he solidifies up front. B, he makes sure like he's communicating with the offensive line. Like that was a big deal. Like you knew it. He was your best offensive lineman overall, and that is a big deal. There's no doubt. Like you could win maybe at least. I'd say you probably would have won at least 2 more games.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think you win the Philly game and you win the Atlanta game with McCoy in there. And just think, seriously, and I've said this multiple times this season, but if the Saints win those 2 games, which they shoulda, woulda, coulda, whatever, and they're 4-0, and one of the wins is against the Eagles, the another win is against the Atlanta, and they end up sweeping Atlanta. Just think of how different this is. Now, granted, Allen would still be here, but the Saints, this would have been a completely different season had the Saints started 4-0.
And then you just look at it. If you add 2 wins, you take away 2 losses. What would they be right now? They'd be 4, and so that what?
Well, I mean, yeah. Even if just those,
they'd be 5-5.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'd be
and only one game behind. Yeah, one game behind, and Atlanta would be 5-5 because then they would have that one fewer win and one more loss. So
you'd be
it
right.
Would be a completely different season.
And who knows? That's the thing. It's also like, who knows? I mean, Carr didn't play against Denver, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
Okay. But it's so I'm not going to count down. But still, any game that they had Carr and they would have had McCoy, like, there's no doubt they would have had a better chance.
There's zero doubt about that.
Run the football better. Pass protection would have been a little bit better. Like,
Marshawn Lattimore wouldn't have got hurt and not got traded because he would have gave a damn.
He still hasn't played yet.
Did I say that out loud? Oh, I said that out loud. He
still hasn't played yet.
All right, before we move on from the offensive line, because I want to get to the best of the week. Here's what we got the rest of the show. We're going to talk about the best of the NFL in Week 11, pick Larry's brain on these 3 games on the side of the screen. Of course, we're going to have, and we'll finish this up with our Saints prediction. We'll say bye to Larry, and then I'll finish the show with about 10 more minutes of your comments and talk about the Saints. But my last question here before we move on to the NFL best of Week 11, your thoughts on Trevor Penning? And I know that you do a lot of like in-depth and looking at film and different things. Is Trevor Penning, I know he's getting this great grade at PFF. Has he really improved that much since the beginning of the season, or especially since preseason?
I'll be honest, I haven't paid a ton of attention to him, but that's also partially because he hasn't been downright terrible. Like I'll go through
for sure.
And I'll go through and look at extremes when I'm looking each week at offensive line skill, like rates. And
I should have warned you ahead of time that I was going to ask you this question.
Well, I will. Here's the thing. Thankfully, I have my my annual. Well, okay, not my annual, but my weekly reports. And I'll just put it to you this way: through weeks. Let me see. Let's go the last 4 weeks. Okay. Last 4 weeks. Trevor Penning among right tackles. He has given up, and someone who's played. Let's go minimum 100 pass pressure snaps.
Okay.
He has played. He's given up an 8.8% pressure rate, and that is one of the worst in the NFL.
I was going to say that's not very good.
At his position, that's not very good.
Yeah.
So
like good is like 3 or 4%, right?
Right. So yeah, when you look at it in that sense, the average. I'll just say this: average is 5.5% for a right tackle in the last 4 weeks.
See, now I will say this, and usually I go back, and I've just been so busy, and I just haven't had time. Usually I go back, and first thing I do when I get home or later that evening is rewatch the game, or at least certain things. And when I rewatch the game, I'm usually looking in the trenches. And so I haven't had the chance to focus on Penning as much as I would have liked to, but I just didn't understand like the PFF love for him. And I know he was like the highest graded Saint last week. And I think the O-line has been maybe better than we've expected in the grand scheme of things. Not very good overall. I mean, there's a reason why Derek Carr had to miss 3 weeks because he got an oblique injury. It's because he got killed from his offensive line.
Let me look at just last week alone. And we use a service called True Media. Let me look real quick.
And while you're doing that, I'll put this up there. Lance says his run blocking is way better. I do agree with that. I do think that his I think the run blocking of this entire line as a whole has been better and definitely better than expected. But I'm still very worried about that pass blocking. And again, that's why I go back to what we're talking about with this matchup and why I don't love this matchup for the Saints, because I do think the Browns have underperformed. And when they get a chance to go against a line like this line, I think it gives them a chance to get back to what they've been used to a little bit.
Yeah, so last week he gave up one pressure, 3.7% pressure percentage allowed. That's and the league average last week for someone at right tackle was 5.9%. So he played better. He was way better than average. So that was on 27 pass block snaps. So he only gave up one pressure on 27 pass block snaps. So look, that's a good rate. Like if your tackles are doing 3.7%, those are some of the and say that spans the entire life of the league. Like that's one of the best rates, probably like a top 6 rate. So that's a good week for Trevor.
I'm not hating on him when I say what I'm about to say, because he's absolutely played better than I think almost anyone expected. And all the crap that I gave him early in the season, he's definitely been playing than that. But I will say this, Atlanta's pass rush, when they made these signs, they got Judon and whatever else, they have been very disappointing. Their pass rush this year, Larry, has been very disappointing. So I don't know how much I take out of playing well against an Atlanta team that is absolutely underachieving.
Basically, you better play well against them because
they have not been good.
They're not been good at all. I'll give you where they are. They're 31st in the league in pressure percentage, and they are last in sacks.
Yeah. No. All right. We're gonna get to the NFL. Emily, I'm not sure. This is like the third time you brought up you don't think the Colts have a chance. You keep talking about the Colts. Are you a Colts fan? Okay, I'm not sure. You don't think the Colts? I don't think the Colts have a chance this year either. For what it's worth, I mean. They are in a average, sorry, Gabe, mediocre at best division. That's kind of floundering around right now, but whatever. All right, NFL, the best of Week 11. Again, Larry and I will wrap up our segment here, making our Saints picks. When we're about ready to do that, we will ask you for your Saints picks so we can all do this together. And before we move on, John Pace says Trevor Penning seems serviceable right now. That's a good word, I think. He hasn't been part of the Saints' problems. You know what? I actually agree with that. I think he has not been a problem. And Lance says he's gone from ain't to he could be, which is huge for us. I don't know about huge, but I think that's fair as well. So we'll see. All right. Best of Week 11. I got the 3 games that I think are the most interesting games of the week. One of them was super obvious. Another one was kind of obvious. We'll get your thoughts on them. I'm going to start off with the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. The Packers this is down from 5.5 to 5. The Packers are 5-point favorites in Chicago.
Interesting in that Chicago now has a new offensive coordinator, and Matt Eberflus is basically coaching for his job. But Chicago's defense, that's a defense that's still playing well, even though their offense, it was basically after the bye week where the offense totally went back into the tank after 3 weeks of playing well, but they were playing lesser competition. And so now you're going up against Green Bay, who Jordan Love, is he healthy? I mean, he's been banged up a couple times. It looks like he's going to be playing.
Better than Derek Carr.
I would take Jordan Love over Derek Carr right now. I even hurt. I would take Jordan Love over Derek Carr right now. Not as of right this second, I won't take Caleb Williams over Derek Carr. But if you're talking about
no,
I would take Jordan Love over Derek Carr. But still, yeah, I think this is something that Chicago. I mean, they need to turn it around. And Green Bay, they kind of need to start catching some momentum. They've been up, they've been down. It's been an interesting ride for them, especially given how well Detroit's been playing and that the surprise is Minnesota. And so, yeah, I think that's of those games, I think that's one to certainly a traditional matchup to keep an eye on.
Yep, I'm gonna pass. This is a pass for me. If I had to pick here, I would take the Bears because they're at home. It's a division game. I don't like to take division favorites on the road. If I were forced to pick this game, I would take the Bears because I do think they'll keep it close. I know Green Bay's been off, but that being said, this is a rivalry game, and whenever you talk about rivalry games, I'm going to lean towards the home team that's getting points almost any time. So give me the Bears +5. I don't think they win the game, but I do think they keep it close. And Caleb Williams, dude, this dude's got to get better. I mean, he's looking way worse than Justin Fields, in my opinion. I said they made a mistake when they did this whole trade thing. They could have got something they really needed and not a quarterback, but they did what they did. Anyway, moving on. Ravens, this isn't the most appealing game, but this is my best bet of the week. This is the game that I'm kind of looking forward to most. I don't understand this line at all. Why are the Ravens 3.5-point favorites at Pittsburgh?
Well, by the way, I took Green Bay straight up, just heads up.
Okay.
But I'm with you because here's the thing. The Steelers offense is certainly playing better, and the Ravens defense stinks. Like it is.
It does.
Bad.
It is
bad. So at Pittsburgh, I don't know that line at all. I'll just tell you, I took Pittsburgh straight up to win. I think they can. There's certainly someone who can slow down Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and their offense is playing well enough. Like I said, that defense is there to be had. I don't think there's
right.
Russell Wilson is playing with confidence again. I really can't believe that he's actually playing as well as he has. Still completion percentage. He's still all kind of, wheeling and dealing, like, playing, scrambling around, doing his thing, but still it's worked. And they're playing better, and him and George Pickens are playing well together. So, but yeah, look, I took Pittsburgh straight up.
And I read this out yesterday. I'm going to read this out again. My best bet of the week, it was the under 48.5, and you being asked why the total is 48. It makes no sense. It went back up to 48.5. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I'm just going to read out the last 7 scores in this game. I read them yesterday. It doesn't matter who won or who lost. By the way, the Steelers have won 5 of the last 6 in this matchup. 17-10, 17-10, 16-13, 16-14, 16-13 in overtime, 20-16, 19-14. So you tell me why this over-under is as high as it is. And people are betting the over. So I love the under in this game, and I really like the Steelers. Now that you're giving me an extra half a point, Lamar Jackson, lastly on this game, Lamar Jackson's in his career has played 4 games against the Steelers. He's been hurt for a few of them. Tyler Huntley sucked against them too. But Lamar Jackson has not been good against the Steelers in his 4 games. He's thrown 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. The public loves them some Ravens. They're going to bet on the Ravens no matter whatever the spread is. I'm telling you right now, if you love the Ravens, just stay away from the game because I just think the Steelers, I agree with you. I think they win this game outright.
Yeah, and the difference with all of those scores you just rattled off, Baltimore's defense was always good. Their defense is not good. Like, it is not good. Like, it's the one time when, man, they're going to need, if they want to go deep in the playoffs, boy, they're going to have to just outscore people rather than edge by, because their defense, like the Chiefs' offense hasn't been good all year, but they put points up on them. And if they get into a playoffs, the Chiefs will put points up on them. And so then you got to have, all right, the Ravens, can their offense be good against a good Chiefs defense? And that, to me, is something that can stop them. I already see it. It won't be Lamar Jackson stopping them in the playoffs. It will be their defense. And that's why I think Pittsburgh's going to win this game on Sunday.
Playoffs? You talking playoffs?
Both of them will be there, I would think.
Speaking of playoffs, Kansas City at Buffalo. It's the annual meeting. They're always first place team, so they always play each other in the regular season. We know that the Chiefs don't usually fare well against the Bills in the regular season, and then when it counts, the Bills find a way to screw it up, and the Chiefs end up winning. But the Chiefs have been so damn lucky. They keep rolling. They're still undefeated. Is this where the streak ends, Larry Holder?
Yes, it will end. I think that someone's going to get them. I mean, they've been living by the seat of their pants. They should have lost last week, and they didn't. But this one, I do think that, like Buffalo's offense, I mean, they certainly can do different things. It looks like Amari Cooper is going to play. If I think I'm right, maybe I'm not.
I hope you're right because he's on my fantasy team.
So. Well, I know Dalton Kincaid is out, so that is one weapon they won't have. But
Dawson Knox.
It seems like Buffalo's kind of flying under the radar, and Josh Allen he's been very good protecting the football, all of that, and still can run. And so, I think this is a game where at Buffalo, like Kansas City's due to lose.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the time they're due to lose, and then they might not lose again forever. I don't know, but I think Sunday
it's a game forever. All right, but before I get to my pick, I will tell you if you want to get your Browns Saints pick on the air, now is the time to type it in because as soon as we're done with this game, we're going to get to our Saints Browns predictions with Larry. So if you want to give your Saints prediction, it's speak now or forever hold your peace. My thoughts on Kansas City and Buffalo are this. I wouldn't bet this game with your money, Larry Holder. This is not, I have no, look, if I had to pick I picked it in my column. I picked 33-30 Buffalo. Maybe I should have made the over a best bet. I don't know.
Ooh,
but
that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points. I'm expecting fun time. Okay. But I agree with you that it just feels like the Chiefs have kind of used up all their luck. I mean, it just seems like to me, like what you said, they have been very lucky to be undefeated at this point. I mean, last week they get the blocked field goal off of Will Lutz. Denver absolutely should have beaten them. And other games, they should have lost the first game of the year. They played the Ravens and one toe. I mean, they win by a toe, literally. So they've had multiple games this year, and I just think it just feels like this is the time that it says that the streak is over. But I ain't betting against God in the playoffs. I'm just telling you that.
Postseason, I might look at this differently, but week 11, I think they're due. They're not going to go undefeated. They're due a loss here. Yeah,
I don't think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl this year. However, that being said, I ain't betting against them either. I'm just saying that.
Well, if they get there, don't bet against them.
Yeah, I mean, I might not bet on them.
Once the playoffs come, it's hard to bet against them.
Yeah, I might not bet on them, but I'm not betting against them either. All right, we have come to that point of the show where Larry and I make our decision. We used to really have fun back in the day, and I'd make fun of him, and I'd do like replays of his picks, and we're just gonna come straight out and make picks. To see what happens.
I'm eternally right with my 0.0% on Dennis Allen being employed by the end.
Absolutely, that's the best pick you ever made. By the way,
yes,
he got fired like 2 weeks later after you said that.
Yes,
I mean, so you definitely were right on the 0.0. Doug Mouton got me earlier in the week. He's like, because we were talking about Saints playoffs chances, and I said 0.0, and he goes, "You can't say that. Mathematically, they're still alive. You can't say 0.0." And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Realistically, not mathematically, they're 0.0, which is
right.
Gabe says 0.0% chance that Dougie Peterson survives in Jacksonville.
Oh, he's so fired.
What was the Giants coach, Weasley looking dude who was terrible? He came into the dome and Aaron Brooks beat him like 35-3. What the hell was his name? You remember him?
Looking guy.
Yeah, what the hell was his name? I can't remember his name. This is like 20 years ago. Anyway, me and a friend of mine, Dan, we had too many dome foams, and the dome had emptied out. Literally, the Saints were beating them like 35-10 or something like that. And I'm yelling out, "Yeah!" And we were in the bottom level. I didn't even know if he could hear me. We were in the end zone almost, and I'm yelling, "You are so fired! You're losing to Aaron Brooks 35-10." He turned and looked at me, and he just shook his head. Like, that was like one of the coolest moments. Fossil. That's it. Fossil.
I was looking. You had me looking for him. Yes.
I'm like,
they got to a Super Bowl with
that was one of the most famous. That was one of my most fun moments as a fan yelling at Jim Fossil that he was so fired he was just getting his ass kicked. I think it was like a Sunday night game. They were just getting killed by the Saints and Aaron Brooks. So I digress. You got your 0.0 moment, and I got my moment with Jim Fossil. All right, it is time for predictions. Adam Varner says 24-20 Saints. Lance says, I guess that means he thinks the Saints are winning. He did the low score first, 30-14 Saints. Jeff Haspel, 21-17 Saints. Ovide, Saints 24-12. Terrence says, again, the Saints game should not be picked until you see the inactives. Come on, we that's not a no fun. You're no fun, Terrence. Brian Esty, 24-21 Saints.
I picked the game 2 days ago.
UBN, Browns 23-17. Jameis throws 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. What else we got? John Pace, Saints 24, Brownies 17. Emily Varner, Saints 34-25. What else we got? I know we got more. PBM says it won't be close. Pure passer Carr will shine. Silver Gator, welcome to the Dattitude family. Saints 24, Browns 21. And then lastly, Kyle Sherman, Saints 24, Browns 17. I'm going to stay with my pick that I made, and Terrence says he's no fun, but it's true. All right. What is your pick, Larry Holder? You've been pretty good lately on these games, except last week I think you picked the Falcons to win.
Yeah.
We both did. That's okay. What have you got in this one?
I am going 23-20 Saints. I think they will win this game. I think that Cleveland's offense isn't good enough. I think that the Saints defense, again, they might give up some ground yardage. Like Nick Chubb might get going. I don't trust Jameis. Sorry, never have, never will. And I think that they can figure out how to counteract the pressure that Cleveland's going to bring. I would assume Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, you probably want to use a heavy dose of those guys, and maybe you can hit some big plays down the field, kind of like the recipe that they had last week. And I just think that the Saints can win this one, go into a bye, 2-0 under the Riz.
And everybody's like super happy, and the Saints are back, baby. Right?
I mean, I'm definitely not saying that they're back.
All right, okay.
They exist, and at least we'll give you a little pep in your step. All right.
Bart Prudhomme says Winston comes back and the Saints lose. Brian Pearson says Saints 31, Browns 28.
No one's going to predict like Jameis Winston pulls a Tim Couch.
Pace, Rizzy. Oh, now you're going back in time now.
The first Browns win once their franchise came back.
The Big Ben play. Barry Ulay says 13-10 Saints. All right. I am going to stick with the prediction I made in my column. I know most of you probably didn't read it, judging by the ratings. You haven't. And I'm going to stick. Views. Yeah. Brian wants to know, by the way, that the game that I'm talking about was the Joe Horn cell phone game. I think that it might have been. It was definitely a night game. And Gabe tells me, he reminds me that the score of that game was 45-7. Aaron Brooks beat the Giants. And indeed, Jim Fossil was fired at the end of that season. All right. I know Saints fans don't want to hear this. And Larry and I, we've been on the same side a lot lately, not this time. I'm going to give out a fact here before I make my pick. And the facts are that if you look at trends, and they're small trends, but in the Saints history, they generally, when they have an interim coach, this is the 6th time in history that the Saints have had an interim coach. Interim coaches are 4-2 now in their first game taking over for a team. The problem is there's something along the lines of 1-25 after that. And in the second week, they're terrible. They are absolutely awful. The Saints interim coaches don't fare well. And in general, and I'm not just talking about the Saints, in general, we talked about this before with interim coaches and how they struggle. After that first week, everybody's fired up because we've got a new coach. It's a lot harder in week 2. And I just think it's going to be harder for the Saints. And I think that Jameis Winston, the revenge factor, I don't know how much it means. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The main thing is what we talked about, and it's why I asked you this question. I think the Browns' defensive line against the Saints' offensive line, I don't know what the over-under sack total is, but bet the over. The St. Carr's going to get just waxed on Sunday. I think he's going to get sacked 4 or 5 times. Browns win 19-13. It's ugly.
Man.
It's supposed to be ugly.
Oh, no Riz for you. Your kids would say you got no Riz, Dad.
John, that's not analytics. There's a big difference between analytics and history. A huge difference. Analytics is using math. I don't use math.
Did you go? How much of what you had to do was like the infamous? The Saints had an interim head coach and then an interim to the interim in 2012. Did all of that play?
No, that doesn't count because you didn't have a change midseason. That's that neither one of those guys were the head coach.
They had to change from interim to interim to interim back. That wasn't
interim. Neither one of those guys were the head coach.
Sean Payton was gone.
That doesn't count when a coach.
It would have helped your argument.
When a head coach is replaced, I know, but I ignore that season completely. That season doesn't even count. That's a whole bunch of horse hockey.
That was
that season. That was a mess.
9 months of my life.
Yeah, and
Picayune.
Luckily for me, in 2012, what was I doing in 2012? I was that's when I got laid off.
That's when I came in.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jeff Haspel says he hopes I'm wrong, but it's better research than his pick. Look, it kind of goes with the Ravens whole Steelers thing. If you don't research it and go look through it, it's easy to just pick the Ravens because they're playing better right now and they got Derrick Henry. But the fact is that the Steelers have the Ravens number, and Gabe, type that stat up one night before. That was a cell phone game. Type that stat up you gave me yesterday. He had an incredible stat. The Steelers just have the Ravens number, and I just don't think that an interim coach going into his second week, I think that it's going to be it was probably so hard to I'm not saying they weren't practicing their asses off, but I just think that it's going to be really tough to follow what they did last year.
If they were playing a better team, maybe I would agree with you, but the Browns are not a good team.
Yeah. I know. I hear you. I mean, yeah. Yes, John, I was laid off multiple times, but I'm back.
I was laid off once, but that's because this industry's crazy, not because I sucked. At least that's what I tell myself.
Really is. Mike Tomlin, by the way, last thing I'll say on the Ravens Steelers game. I know I'm all over the place. Mike Tomlin is 26-2, 26-2 against the spread all time as a home underdog. And John Harbaugh is 0-10-2 in Pittsburgh as a favorite of 3 or more points. Those are strong numbers. I don't care what anybody says.
I just think the Ravens defense isn't any good, so Steelers win. Bing, bang, boom. Whatever all those numbers are, okay.
All right. Well, next week, we don't have a Friday show, so we'll talk about if you want to come on a different day. We'll talk about it. And then the next week is Thanksgiving week, so I don't know what your plans are going to be. You'll probably have kids all over the place. I
do have 2 humanoids that will be off all week.
All right. So we're going to have to figure out a schedule for us the next couple of weeks. It's bye week, and then it's Thanksgiving. We're taking a little time bye week. Next week, we're going to be on
bye week.
If you want to come on Thursday next week, you're more than welcome to. It's up to you. We would love to have you.
We'll have to catch. We'll have to.
All right, you look at your schedule.
We'll have to have our side text.
All right, we'll do that side text. But anyway, it's always fun. And if for some reason we don't talk to you before then, happy Thanksgiving.
You too, my friend.
All right, talk to you soon.
Yep.
Larry Holder, everybody. He's always look. We don't always agree. In fact, a lot of times we don't. I'm gonna have to go back and do research on the times when Larry and I don't have the same pick. Who's right more often than not? All right, final comments. Get them coming in because we are going to be saying goodbye very shortly. But first, we told you earlier we would let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run and privately owned business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary evaluation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. It's Friday. You think about this every week, especially on the weekend. Is this the week that you finally do something about it? Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed, ready to serve you, so get in touch with Nick and Ron about what is really important. Not the Saints, not Jameis Winston coming back, not LSU, Florida, not Tulane, not the stinking Pelicans. What is really important? It's the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. What are we going out with today? Y'all getting quiet here at the end. Saints need to clone Mike Tomlin. That would be nice. I mean, isn't Mike Tomlin about ready to leave Pittsburgh? I mean, I know I've screamed. He goes against both of my principles that I said been screaming about for the last week and a half, and that's I don't want anyone over the age of 45. And I don't want anyone that's ever worn black and gold to be the next Saints coach. But I would make an exception for Mike Tomlin. If Mike Tomlin wants to leave Pittsburgh and come to New Orleans, you're more than welcome. Kyle Sherman, relax. Enjoy some breaks over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, man. Look, I've told y'all this. When I get a chance to take a break, I got to do it, man. It's been a long season. We had a mini break when the Saints played on a Thursday night. But I mean, it's been crazy. So next week, we will, of course, have Mono Monday. We're not going to skip Mono Monday. We will be here on Monday, and then we will be here on Thursday. It'll be kind of we're going to have a condensed version. I'm going to tell UBN to keep it short. Sorry. Because next week on Thursday, we're going to have the Best Bet show, but we will have a kind of an NFL preview if Flowery wants to come on. It's going to be Thursday and Friday going to be wrapped up into one. And then the following week for Thanksgiving week, we're going to probably be off on Monday, have an extended weekend, the Monday before Thanksgiving, and then we will have a show the day before Thanksgiving and the day after. So Wednesday, which we'll probably do our Thursday show on Wednesday with so much going on Thursday. And then Friday will be our Saints-Rams preview, right? I think Saints-Rams. Yeah, after the bye week. So that's what we got coming up. We got 4 shows for you in 2 weeks. Next 2 weeks. Take a little bit of a break. What else we got? UBN says it's going to take the under 5 sacks. Oh, no. Oh, I mean, whatever the line is. I mean, I'm not going to. Here he goes. This is his way of trying to goad me into a stupid bet. I ain't betting you anything. Whatever the line is, that's what I'm taking the over. I don't care what the number is on DraftKings. So whatever the number is, if you want to make a little friendly wager, we'll do it. Ovide. Rizzy hopefully won't clog up the toilet this week. Look, if that's what it takes to win, clog the damn thing up. Somebody will fix it. That's what you got plungers for. Lance says defensive line goes off in this game. 5 sacks. Offensive line looks like it did in week 2. Okay, that's where you got the 5 sacks from. Kyle Sherman. Pittsburgh would be stupid to let him go. Of course, but at some point, and I don't think Mike Tomlin's coming here. I'd love to see it. It's not happening. But at some point, don't you think, just like Cowher did before him, Chuck Noll to some extent, coaches, you get tired of, don't you think, like Sean Payton did here? I mean, Sean Payton left multiple reasons. Don't get me started on that. But at some point, you just get tired of being in the same place. Don't you? Don't you get tired of being in the same place after a while? Kyle Sherman Tomlin is a great motivator. No question. UBN says if Mike Tomlin comes to New Orleans, his wife would leave him for Tomlin. Who could blame her? I mean, Mike Tomlin or UBN? Come on. What kind of choice is that? All right. Anyway. Tomlin may not want to. Yeah, I don't think Tomlin doesn't seem like a TV dude, does he? I don't know. Anyway, if he wanted to come in, and you say like his predecessors, you mean his predecessor. Because not all of his there's only been 3 coaches in Pittsburgh. Bill Cowher and Chuck Noll have been the only other coaches at Pittsburgh since like I was 1 year old. And Chuck Noll, I don't think, went to TV. Y'all still talking about Herbert versus Carr? Stop it. I'm not even showing that. Herbert versus. Look, PBM, leave Gabe alone. He's wrong. It's okay. Justin Herbert is when you go through the list of overrated, and I'm getting off a tangent. We got to close the show out. So this is how I choose to close the show out. Whatever. But think about it. If you had to list your 5 most overrated quarterbacks in the last decade, you can't tell me that Justin Herbert wouldn't be on that list. Think about it. I mean, Deshaun Watson's definitely on the list. Think about your 5 most overrated, overhyped quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence is certainly on the list. Justin Herbert's done nothing, and I don't see him doing anything in the near future. Why? He's got Harbaugh now. Maybe he'll get a second playoff game and lose that one too when he's winning by 20 or whatever the hell it was. Oh, Kyle. Jim Fossil tried to go to TV and couldn't. Get it out. Favre is on your, I said last decade. Favre is on your most overrated list. Get out of here. Anyway, all right. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope Saints win. And I hope that y'all here's some crow. Man, when's the last time we even brought up Crow Po' Boy? Remember y'all were telling me I was going to be eating Crow Po' Boys when I picked the Saints to lose to the Eagles? And then I picked them to lose to the Falcons. And y'all said I was going to eat Crow Po' Boy. What happened to that? We haven't brought it. Man, we had to put the crow meat's been in the freezer for a while. I don't even know. It's probably freezer burned by now. Been in there so long. I'm gonna have to eat crow. 2 more comments. Preacher Man, we haven't seen you today. Sorry you were late. Glad you're here. He truly believes that if Peyton left because Loomis wouldn't give him the GM job. I don't think that's it. I think we all know that Peyton was running the show behind us. He didn't need the title. Peyton did whatever he wanted. Pretty much. John says he's going to cook up some Crow Po' Boy for month. Dude, this team ain't worth, you got to have a team that's worth eating crow for. If I'm wrong about this, who cares? I mean, really? Who cares? Terrence says he's going to try one more time. If I could guarantee that the Saints starting offensive line would play the whole game, who would I pick? Still pick the Browns. That's why it doesn't matter to me who's in the inactives. They've had a bye week. I think Kevin Stefanski is a good coach. I don't think he cares that Rizzi's. I mean, I do think the line is a little weird. I don't see why the Saints are a pick 'em. I think the Saints should be favored by 2 in this game. So the line is a little bit weird, but it means the money's coming in on the Browns. That's my opinion. I'm not going to be grumpy, Rainey. Sure, the boys put out the mats for on the sideline this week. I just need some cushion. That dome floor makes my back hurt. Terrence, thanks for answering. You're part of the Dattitude family. You asked me a question, I'm going to answer it. Last comment, I promise. Time for some crow, Jim. Rejuvenated. We're not doing rejuvenated. I will only do. I told y'all yesterday what it's going to take to do rejuvenated. They have to go to the playoffs, and so then I added, and I should have told this to Larry that I added this in. I do rejuvenated. The show will be called Rejuvenated if the Saints go to the playoffs, and then I got to also shave my head. But then y'all told me not to shave my head. That would be embarrassing. Y'all wouldn't even want to watch the show. Shave my head. I mean, what's the deal? You think I'd look bad with a shaved head? I'll have to show you a picture. I actually did a shaved head for charity about 10, maybe longer than 10 years ago, but 15 years ago now. St. Baldrick's. So maybe I'll show y'all a picture next week at some point what I look like with a bald head. It ain't gonna happen. That's the only way you're gonna see me with a bald head is go and look at a picture on Facebook, because you're not gonna see it any other way, because the Saints ain't going to the playoffs. I'll eat 2 Crow Po Boys and Crow Fries. If that happens. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us on this Friday and for this entire week. It's been kind of a fun week. Look, I enjoyed it. Look, the Saints, it's so much better when they win. And I know, look, for ratings wise, you may or may not know this. I've said it before, but the ratings for the show y'all are some sickos because they're better when the Saints lose. I guess people like hearing me go off when the Saints lose. I don't know, but they're almost double when the Saints lose. I don't get it. But I got to be honest. It's so much more fun having a show when the Saints win than when they lose. So I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Let's win this game on Sunday. Let's come in here and have a fun Mono-E Monday. And y'all can just say Darren Rizzi is the greatest thing since filet gumbo. I'm good with that. I want to thank today's guest, Larry Holder. Of course, Gabe Henderson. Y'all give Gabe Henderson another clap, another thumbs up. Let's see if I can get you. Trying to give you a thumbs up. Nope. Won't do it. We hope you can join us next on Monday, Mono-E Monday. Again, remember, next week, just Monday and Thursday next week. We will tell you more later on. A reminder, if you haven't already done so, give us a like, by the way. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. If you watch it on Facebook, please go subscribe to us on the YouTube page. Be a part of the Dattitude family. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And always find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Check us out on bet.NOLA.com. And, of course, our Saints Insiders, all the Saints news you could possibly want on NOLA.com/Saints. Everyone have a glorious weekend with the most perfect fall weather, whether you live in New Orleans or, like Gabe, I'm sure it's perfect in Houston as well. We will see you on Monday. Roll Wave. Go Tigers. And who dat? Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.